This is a homework helper about protein synthesis. So let's go ahead and get started. So question 1 says fill in the chart below by putting a check or X to show if DNA or RNA has the characteristic. So I'm going to look back at my day sheet from class and I'm going to think about what I know about DNA and RNA. Now the first one is done for me. The example says double-stranded, and I can see that only DNA is checked, which means that only DNA is double-stranded. RNA has an X because it is not double-stranded, and that fits with what I know about DNA and RNA. I know that DNA has two sides that are twisted around in a double helix, whereas RNA is much skinnier and looks like just a half a DNA, kind of like this. So let's go ahead and go to the next one, single-stranded. Well, that fits with what I know about RNA, so I'm going to put a check for RNA and an X for DNA. DNA is double-stranded, not single-stranded. Now the next one says made of nucleotides. I know that nucleotides are the building blocks of nucleic acids, and both DNA and RNA are nucleic acids, which means that they are both made of nucleotides. This is a similarity between the two. So I have to put a check in both boxes. The next one says contains uracil. Now DNA does not have uracil. It doesn't have any U's in it. DNA only has the letters G, C, A, and T. Only RNA has a U, so I'm going to put a check here for RNA. Now the next one contains thymine. That fits with DNA. The T is for thymine, so let me put a check there. But RNA, because it has U, does not have T, so let me put an X here for RNA. Contains phosphate. Phosphate is a component of nucleotides, the building blocks of nucleic acids, and so that's going to be in both DNA and RNA. Now the last two boxes ask me about my sugars, which is another part of the nucleotides, the building blocks of DNA and RNA. Now the first sugar is called deoxyribose. That sounds a lot like the name of DNA, deoxyribonucleic acid, so I'm going to guess that deoxyribose sugar is found in DNA, not RNA. Now the second one, sugar ribose, sounds a lot like the name for RNA, ribonucleic acid. So I'm going to guess that that sugar is found in RNA, not DNA. So now that I have this chart filled out, I have a great summary of the similarities and differences between RNA and DNA. If something has a check in one box but an X in another, then I know that it's a difference between DNA and RNA. But if there's a check in both boxes like there are here, then I know that that is a similarity between my two nucleic acids, between DNA and RNA. So I can now use this chart to answer question number 2. Which of the following is true about both DNA and RNA? That word both clues me in that I'm looking for a similarity between the two. So I'm going to look up at my chart and find one of those similarities. So while you're doing that, I'm going to go ahead and scroll down to the next question. Let's get these next questions here. Okay, so the next one says, which of these makes up the primary link between a gene and the expression of this trait? In order to answer this, I have to think about the central dogma of biology, which we talked about today in class. The central dogma of biology states that DNA, our genotype, codes for proteins which determine our traits. And using this central dogma, I should be able to figure out what is the link between genes, our DNA, and our physical traits, our phenotype. So take a look at the central dogma and see if you can pick out the correct answer. The next question says, where does transcription take place in the cell? Now, to transcribe something means to make a copy. I know that transcription is the step of making a protein, where we make a copy of the DNA's instructions in the form of mRNA, or messenger RNA. And in order to do this, I'm going to need to open up my DNA and use my DNA in order to make a copy of mRNA. Now, DNA only hangs out in one place in the cell, and it can't leave that one place. So transcription is going to have to happen in that one place in the cell where DNA hangs out. So see if you can pick out the correct answer to that question. Now the next one, number 5, says, where does translation take place in the cell? Now translation is a little bit different. In transcription, I made my mRNA copy of the DNA, and in translation, that mRNA is going to get translated into amino acids, which are going to form our protein. Remember, amino acids are the building blocks of a protein, pro-amino. So translation is going to take place in the cell where proteins are made. So I need to think back to what I already know about my cell organelles, my cell parts. Which part of the cell is where proteins are made? So see if you can pick out the correct answer to that question. All right, and while you're doing that, I'm going to go ahead and scroll down to the last couple of questions on my homework. Okay, question 6 says, which of the following are made directly from DNA? And I see a few different things listed here. I see mRNA, tRNA, and proteins. And I know that all of these things are important in making a protein. I just need to think about what this word in bold means, directly. So what this word means is that it is something that I use my DNA to make, and probably is going to be made in the same place that my DNA is located, in the nucleus. So let's think about those arrows we drew at the end of our day sheet from class. We drew some arrows that look like this: DNA going to mRNA, which goes to a protein, which goes to a trait. And I should be able to think about these arrows and be able to figure out now which of these parts is made directly from the DNA. So see if you can pick out the correct answer to that question. Okay, step number 7 says the purpose of transcription is to, and 8 asks me about translation. So in order to answer these questions, it's going to be really helpful to remember what words I wrote on the arrows last class. So in my first arrow, DNA to mRNA, you'll remember we labeled that step transcription. And we labeled the second arrow translation. So now if I know that this arrow, this transition from here to here, represents transcription, and this arrow from here to here represents translation, I should be able to pick out the correct answers to number 7 and 8. So that's it for your homework helper. Good luck on your homework.